Welcome back. And to talk more about this topic, we are delighted to have with us over the phone Dr. Monica William. She's an international relations expert and also a political science researcher. Good morning, Dr. Monica.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Doctor, for joining us today. Dr. Monica, how do you assess the situation so far between America and Iran, with both sides claiming victory?
Of course, there was the reported permanent understanding between both sides, especially, of course, the United States and Iran regarding the agreement or reopening the Strait of Hormuz and launch of nuclear negotiations represent, of course, somehow turning point in the current war, although it remains far from a comprehensive settlement. As we see the fact that the agreement has been reached at a technical or diplomatic level, there is a lot of momentum and diplomatic momentum in this regard. And on the other side, there is not received a formal approval from President Donald Trump, even after the meeting with the White House, which suggests that the important political and strategic considerations are still under discussion within the United States. From Donald Trump perspective or American perspective, securing the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz would constitute an immediate strategic achievement, and they remain one of the most important critical energy corridors, and any disruption to or other or further disruption to this maritime traffic directly affects global oil prices and supply chain and economic stability. And currently, United States priority appears to reduce the risk of a broader regional conflict while perceived freedom of navigation and prevent further shocks to international energy. On the other side, for Iran, participation in such agreements may reflect pragmatic assessment of current realities rather than a fundamental, of course, shift in strategic objective. Nowadays, Iran has long viewed the Strait of Hormuz as one of its most powerful bargaining tools. Any willingness to facilitate maritime traffic is likely linked to expectation of just concessions, of course, including sanction relief, access to frozen assets, or broader negotiations of its security concerns. So the linkage between both sides there indicates moving from purely military competition towards a framework based on phased de-escalation. On the other side, there is a several obstacles remain. Deep mistrust continue to define the relationship between Iran and the United States, and disagreement over Iranian level sanction relief mechanism, and a lot of details regarding the agreement or the every factor of this agreement.
Yeah. Dr. William, we want to know more about the main points of this agreement between both sides.
Of course, as we mentioned, there is a lot of agreement regarding the uranium and the reopening of the Hormuz. The second or the first, let me talk about the main pillars, as you mentioned. First one is the de-escalation, or the mainly will provide eventual time for diplomatic engagement. And the other side is the focus on limiting uranium level with strength monitoring and verification mechanism, and preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon, which of course capabilities while avoiding demand for complete displacement of its nuclear infrastructure. On the other side, agreement, as we see, or as we mentioned earlier, also address maritime security in the Strait of Hormuz, including guarantee for freedom of navigation and interrupted flow of global energy supplies. Another significant component and aspect involved economic measures, including the possibility of phased sanction relief for, of course, Iran, the release of a portion of Iran frozen assets, it's around $100 billion. And how there can make this mechanism designed to facilitate limited economic activity, of course, in this time, and in exchange for Iranian compliance for or agreed commitments. And another, or the last one, is the broader objective of this agreement is to establish a pathway toward long-term de-escalation across the region by reducing military tension and preventing miscalculation, and creating conditions for future discussion on regional security efforts.
Well, Dr. William, what about the expected scenarios in case the talks failed and its impact on the global economy?
Of course, there is a lot of scenarios in this regard. And the first one is that where first it's return to the maximum pressure, with United States imposing additional sanctions and, of course, military confrontation. And, of course, there is a lot of targeting Iranian oil exports, financial networks, and entities linked to the nuclear and missile programs. In response, Iran could accelerate its nuclear activities and reduce cooperation with international. Second one is most involved, unfortunately, return to involve the increased military tension in the Gulf countries, and Strait of Hormuz could once again become focal point of the confrontation, with disruption to maritime traffic, and it's part, of course, of what you mentioned, the economic circulation in this region, with high naval deployment and greater risks to incidences, including U.S. and Iranian forces. So such developments would increase global energy prices and raise the concerns about supply security. And the third one is the return in direct or limited military expenses, where there's military operations, rather than a full-scale war. And I guess it's the most probably scenario in this regard. Both sides may resort to this strike and cyber operation pressures through regional allies and partners. This would allow each side to demonstrate resolve while attempting to avoid uncontrolled escalation, given the economic and internal concerns regarding the completing the full-scale confrontation.
Dr. Monica, what about the role of mediators so far, and tell us more about this role since the start of the war?
Of course, there a lot of, as we mentioned earlier as well, diplomatic momentum in this regard. Pakistan mediation efforts emerged as important. Even the foreign minister of Pakistan yesterday, he was at Washington, trying to facilitate the negotiations and discussions, and often understated and component of the diplomatic landscape surrounding the U.S.-Iran. And nowadays, Pakistan maintains working tense relation with both Tehran, and allowed it to serve as a credible communication channel during periods of high tensions. On the other side, there a lot of past two, if we can say it, Gulf countries, Qatar, and of course our countries, Egypt, is part of this negotiation and mediators to facilitate. And last week, last Saturday specifically, there is a very important call between Donald Trump and the Arab countries, which will continue or include Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia.
Well, Dr. Monica William, the international relations expert and political science researcher, thank you very much, Dr. Monica.